When I was a student, there was a man who always looked at me at school. Soon, I was kidnapped by him, and I was in the basement when I opened my eyes. He said, "Let's play a game, yes or no. You have to answer only yes or no with my question. If you say no, I will cut my chest. I want to let you know that I broke my heart because of you." He sat with a knife and asked a question. "Okay, here's the first question. Did you miss me, Maddie?" Crying, I answered, "Please don't do this. You'll be more painful. Just say yes or no." He kicked the chair I was tied to angrily, and I fell. He lifted me up again after a while, saying he was sorry, and asked again with a calm look on his face. "You miss me, right?" Hesitating, I replied, "No." Just then, I could see him cutting his chest with a knife clearly, even before I was finished with my words. I was horrified. I didn't think he'd actually do something like that, but he was just literally hurting himself in front of my eyes. He twisted himself in a pain and then asked again. "Next question. Can I call you babe?" It was disgusting. My whole body shook. I couldn't see him hurting himself, but I didn't want to say yes either. "Please stop it. This is meaningless," I answered to him, crying. "Yes or no." He started hitting his head against the wall like a mad person. Now I could see his head and chest bleeding. "All right, do whatever you want." When I said this, he suddenly smiled brightly and approached me. "Thank you, babe." A horrifically bad stench came out of his mouth. It was just terrible, but I didn't have the courage to resist him. He was a man at least twice as big as me, and also had a knife in his hand. "Now, the next question. Will you hug me, babe?" I hesitated again. I thought about what to do to get out of this moment. It seemed like the situation would get worse and worse if I continued to accept his favors. On the other hand, if I said no, things would still be much scarier. In the end, I decided I better say no. "No, hey, please, listen to me for a second." Then he ignored me and started sobbing and cutting himself in the chest again. His groans resounded through the room like a beast, and his eyes were now half wrapped. "You broke my heart. Every time you pretended not to see me, every time you refused me, and every time you meet another guy. Now, do you understand how much I was in pain?" He seemed to be dying of intense pain. Then he began breathing hard and said, "The last question. Will you marry me? This time, you have to say just yes." He suddenly crossed over to the other room and came back after a while, dragging the bed inside. I could see the bed full of dust and mold. I felt like my skin would be rotten just by touching it. He went up to the bed and then started to take off his shirt. "Marry me, Maddie." I was speechless with such a horrible situation. "Yes or yes." As he bounced on the bed, the dust began to spread everywhere. "No, please stop!" I screamed like hell. I wonder how much time passed. The dust slowly vanished, and he was dimly seen standing on the bed. However, something was strange. A knife was stuck in his chest. Not long after, he fell to the ground. "Why? Why do you always say no, Maddie? You always break my heart like this." He spoke softly and with great difficulty, and eventually closed his eyes. I screamed for a long time, then passed out. When I opened my eyes again, the police were there already. 12 hours had passed. My parents, who were worried that I did not return home, reported a missing person to the police, and the police started to search to rescue me. He had already become a cold body when police came in. I had to suffer from a massive trauma after that day. And since then, I have never spoken the word no.